The world is crowded, cities are booming, and people are moving into every corner of the planet. But believe it or not, some places that were once filled with life are now completely abandoned. And these aren't just ordinary places. These are islands with eerie, tragic, and sometimes downright bizarre histories. From venomous snake infestations to government experiments, here are 13 abandoned islands that tell some of the strangest stories on Earth. Hashima Island, Japan. If you're a James Bond fan, you might recognize Hashima Island, better known as Gunkanjima, or Battleship Island, from Skyfall. But this place is no Hollywood set. It's a real-life ghost town. Back in the day, Hashima was home to over 5,000 people, thriving on its rich underwater coal mines. Japan's industrial boom meant business was booming here, until it wasn't. By the 1970s, coal was on its way out, and when the mines dried up, so did the island's future. Now, Hashima is a crumbling relic of Japan's rapid modernization. The eerie concrete buildings, the abandoned schools, and the rusted-out staircases make it look like the set of a post-apocalyptic movie. Nature is taking over, but the island's history is still preserved. It's even a UNESCO World Heritage Site today. Ilha da Queimada Grande, Brazil. Just 90 miles from São Paulo, there's an island that nobody dares to visit. Why? Because it's home to thousands of golden lancehead vipers, one of the deadliest snakes on the planet. These snakes got stuck here thousands of years ago, when rising sea levels cut the island off from the mainland. With no predators to keep them in check, they multiplied like crazy. Today, scientists estimate that there's at least one snake per square meter. That's right, you'd be stepping on snakes everywhere. In the early 1900s, someone had the brilliant idea to build a banana plantation here. That didn't last long. The last people who lived here were lighthouse keepers, but in the 1920s, they were found dead, supposedly riddled with snake bites. Now, the Brazilian Navy has sealed it off. Only researchers can visit, if they dare. King Island, USA. Off the coast of Alaska, King Island sits frozen in time. For centuries, it was home to the Inupiat people, who built their homes on wooden stilts against the island's steep, rocky cliffs. But in the mid-20th century, the US government shut down the island's only school, forcing families to move to the mainland. Without the younger generation to sustain the community, the island was abandoned. Today, the wooden houses still cling to the cliffs, slowly deteriorating against the harsh Arctic winds, a haunting reminder of the people who once thrived here. Suakin Island, Sudan. For over 3,000 years, Suakin Island stood as one of the most important port cities along the Red Sea, serving as a crucial link between Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. The island was once a vibrant hub for traders, merchants, and explorers, with goods like gold, ivory, and spices passing through its bustling markets. Egyptian pharaohs, Arab sultans, and Ottoman rulers all left their mark on Suakin, shaping it into a cosmopolitan city known for its unique coral-built architecture. However, the island's fortunes took a drastic turn in the early 20th century. When the British established Port Sudan just 50 kilometers away, trade and commerce shifted there, leading to Suakin's gradual decline. Without its economic lifeline, the island's once thriving population dwindled. By the 1920s, it was completely abandoned, left to the mercy of time and the elements. Today, Suakin is a haunting relic of its former self. Its grand coral buildings, which once showcased intricate Islamic designs, have crumbled into ruins, slowly being reclaimed by the sea. Ross Island, India. Ross Island's overgrown ruins look like a scene from a post-apocalyptic movie, but its history is just as haunting. Originally a British penal colony in the 1850s, it later became a thriving settlement with grand bungalows, a church, and even a printing press. Disaster struck in 1941 when a massive earthquake left the island in ruins. A year later, the Japanese army took over, using it as a military outpost during World War II. After the war, Ross Island was abandoned for good. Today, nature has reclaimed it. Vines cover crumbling buildings, and wild deer roam through the eerie remains. St Kilda, Scotland. Life on St Kilda was never easy. Sitting in the middle of the Atlantic, this tiny Scottish island was home to a small but resilient community for over 2,000 years. They survived by hunting seabirds, fishing and farming whatever they could in the brutal climate. But modern life slowly crept in, bringing new diseases and disrupting their fragile way of life. By 1930, the last 36 residents were evacuated, leaving behind their stone houses and ancient ruins. Today, St Kilda is a UNESCO site, but no one lives there. Just puffins, sheep, and the ghosts of a lost community. Poveglia, Italy. If any place deserves to be called cursed, it's Poveglia. Located just a few miles from Venice, this island was used as a plague quarantine site in the Middle Ages. Thousands of infected people were left here to die. Later, in the 1920s, the island became a mental asylum. Legend has it that one of the doctors performed horrific experiments on patients before jumping to his death from the bell tower. Today, Poveglia is completely abandoned. Locals claim they still hear screams at night, and Italy has banned anyone from visiting. Spinalonga, Greece. Off the coast of Crete lies Spinalonga, an island with a history as haunting as its abandoned ruins. For centuries, it served as a Venetian fortress, protecting trade routes and fending off Ottoman invaders. However, its most infamous chapter began in 1903, when the Greek government designated it as a leper colony, one of the last in Europe. People diagnosed with leprosy, feared and misunderstood at the time, were forcibly sent to Spinalonga, isolated from their families and the rest of society. They arrived believing it was a death sentence, as there was no cure for the disease. Conditions were harsh, especially in the early years when resources were scarce and medical treatment was nearly non-existent. Over time, however, the community developed its own social structure, with shops, schools, and even entertainment, as the residents tried to reclaim a sense of normalcy despite their suffering. Spinalonga remained an active leper colony until 1957, when medical advancements allowed patients to be reintegrated into society. The island was then abandoned, left frozen in time. Nomans Land, USA. Nomans Land, a small, rugged island off the coast of Massachusetts, has remained off-limits to the public for decades, but not because of its eerie name. Once home to the indigenous Wampanoag people, the island was later used by European settlers for farming and fishing. However, its fate took a drastic turn in the 1940s when the US Navy claimed it as a bombing range during World War II. For years, the island was subjected to relentless explosions as the military tested weapons and conducted training exercises. The impact was devastating. Not only did it erase any trace of human habitation, but it also left behind an invisible but deadly legacy. Thousands of unexploded bombs buried beneath the soil and scattered across the landscape. Okunoshima, Japan. At first glance, Okunoshima seems like a paradise for animal lovers. Nicknamed Rabbit Island, this small, remote landmass in Japan's inland sea is home to hundreds of friendly, free-roaming rabbits that eagerly approach visitors for food and attention. But beneath its cute and seemingly innocent exterior lies a chilling history. During World War II, Okunoshima played a key role in Japan's secret chemical weapons program. Between 1929 and 1945, the island housed a top-secret factory where scientists produced lethal mustard gas and other chemical agents for warfare. The operation was so secretive that Okunoshima was deliberately erased from Japanese maps to keep its existence hidden from the public. Holland Island, USA. Once a thriving fishing community in Chesapeake Bay, Holland Island fell victim to rising sea levels. By 1918, everyone was forced to leave. Today, only a few skeletal remains of houses peek out from the water. Soon, the entire island will disappear. Clipperton Island, France. A tiny coral atoll in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, Clipperton Island is as isolated as it gets. Despite its small size and inhospitable conditions, it has a history filled with conquest, human suffering, and tragedy. In the early 1900s, Mexico claimed Clipperton and sent a small colony of workers, along with their families, to harvest guano, a valuable resource used for fertilizer. A military officer, Ramon Arnaud, was assigned to govern the settlement, ensuring order and protection. At first, life on the island was tough but manageable, with supply ships arriving periodically to bring food and essentials. However, everything changed when the Mexican Revolution broke out in 1910. With the country in chaos, supply ships stopped coming. The small colony, already struggling in the unforgiving environment, was now completely cut off from the outside world. Deception Island, Antarctica. This volcanic island in Antarctica was once a bustling whaling station, but after a massive eruption, the station was buried in ash. Today, rusted equipment and abandoned buildings sit frozen in time, a reminder of the island's explosive past. Thanks for watching. Please like the video, press the subscribe button, and also drop your thoughts in the comments section.